Hey, it's Buzz with Pickleball Buzz. Glad you could join me for yet another wonderful episode here on the channel. I'm going to be interviewing Tony Cutright, who is Chairman and Executive Director of the Florida-Georgia Pickleball Classic, which is a wonderful end of October event that coincides with the University of Florida and University of Georgia game here in the Jacksonville area, which is always a big college rivalry, and nothing better than mixing some pickleball with some college football, I say. So without further ado, here is my interview with Tony. With me today is none other than Tony Cutright, who is the chairman of the Florida-Georgia Pickleball Classic.
That's correct.
Happening the end of October and draws quite a crowd. How many people are doing it, Tony?
550 people are signed up to play. Another 250 are coming as guests. We have 125 volunteers that are part of the process.
That's great. Well, I'm sure glad to have you on the channel with us. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Tony's been in the business since what was it? Long time, right?
8 years ago.
8 years ago.
Yeah, 2016.
Those are dog years for those that are counting. Even though pickleball, as many of you might know, started in 1965, the last couple years it's been a meteor of growth, just incredibly on fire, right?
Right. We've grown from our first tournament of about 323 to this tournament, which is players 550.
Wow, that's something else. And growing, right?
And still growing.
And still growing. Yep.
Right, and stopping and looking for larger spaces to have larger tournaments.
Yep. What's interesting about tournaments, and I was talking to Tony before we went on air here, is just the amount of interest that people are now showing in attending, not even playing, but attending tournaments, just to see what all the action is and understand the big community that we have here in the world of pickleball, which is now growing to bring in younger players in addition to even military vets. And in our part of the world here in Northeast Florida, we're a military town. We have 2 naval air stations, and the Wounded Warriors organization's headquartered here. And so there's a lot happening in pickleball, right?
There is. It's kind of funny. In the old days, you'd have to talk to somebody and say, hey, we want you to play in our pickleball tournament. And after a few times of asking, finally they agreed to. And the first thing they do afterwards is say, thank you. That was so much fun. Why didn't you tell me how much fun it was going to be?
Yeah, isn't that the way? And Tony makes a great point, is that when you get snake bitten by this wonderful sport, it's almost hard to give it up, no matter who you are. And we've had a lot of children lately play, and some high school kids, and now the colleges are starting to come around. And once people start playing, and that's why we're seeing a lot of tennis players convert over. D1 tennis players are starting to move into the sport and change the sport. And I'm sure that's led to some growth, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would. Matter of fact, I quit playing tennis when I found out love meant nothing.
Because you weren't getting no love. That's right. Yeah, that's interesting. And so you yourself were a tennis guy, huh?
I was.
Yeah.
It's an interesting. I just met a person that actually had a paddleball court, and they had the paddleball court in their yard, and they said we just kind of drew away from paddleball. What should I do with it? I said play pickleball. And so he's converting the whole thing to pickleball now.
Yep, it's amazing. Who would ever think a ball that has 40 holes and it looks like a piece of Swiss cheese would make such an impact on everybody, but it does. And the overall health benefits. In fact, we were talking earlier about how corporations now are seeing maybe pickleball as a means to maintain employee health and overall wellness, right?
That's true. I just met a person in PE cardio that told me that he said, I continue this program another additional 16 weeks. I said, why? He said, because if I didn't continue this program, I wouldn't do it by myself at my house. I said, the cool part about pickleball is addictive. He says, once you learn it, you're going to do it forever. So you get that free exercise that's not obligatory. It's, I want to go ahead and play it. The benefits are the aerobics, the hand-to-eye, the exercise that you actually get playing pickleball.
Yeah. And speaking of that, since you've been playing for a while, you had a little medical mishap that pickleball had a definite impact on. You want to tell everybody about that?
I did. I woke up under the surgeon's saw and only to have a triple bypass operation.
Boy.
Immediately 4 days later, I'm in my room and the doctor walked in and said, you're leaving tomorrow. And I said, why? He says, because you're so darn healthy because of all that pickleball you've been playing. So you owe a lot to pickleball to get your recovery going.
That's great. That's great. And that kind of led you to another kind of experience that some of you out there might know about, and that's Tai Chi. Talk a little bit about how that kind of brought you to Tai Chi.
Yeah, Tai Chi, as you get older and as you start younger, one of the problems you have to work on is footwork. And I said, you know, I'm starting to lose the old footwork that I used to have. So I went to the Tai Chi people and they said, this is what we do. So now we take Tai Chi. We actually do it once a week, and then we do it at home in front of a YouTube video.
Nice.
And just primarily to keep track of our footwork. And then the nice thing about that is you get all the other stretch benefits, all the other relief of problem structure that you get from doing a Tai Chi move.
Yep.
And companies now are looking at Tai Chi as a way to go ahead and start to ease such problems as blood pressure and running heart rates.
Wow. On another segment that we had here on the channel, I had Garrett Nealon from Athletes Prehab, and Prehab also embraces the fortification of the body, and Tai Chi not only is a good physical discipline, it's also a mental one as well, right?
It is. I recommend Tai Chi. Since I've been taking Tai Chi, I don't seem to have like what's on my mind every morning that turns into a problem. I have, well, hey, this is what's on my mind. And you take a nice deep breath, you bring in the chi, and you say to yourself, oh, I can handle that.
Yep, yep. Well, you know, I think we learn as we get older, we lose our quicks, as they call it. You know, we don't have our quicks. And it sounds to me like you're already kind of seeing that Tai Chi can bring back some of what we lost when we were younger, right?
And it's hard to bring back what you lose when you're younger, but we're always trying, and that is right.
I love that. I love that. You have a tournament as a chair that you've got coming up, and we mentioned it in the opener at the end of October. And then you got another one in February. Let's talk about the one in October real quick, because it coincides with a collegiate clash between Florida and Georgia that happens here in Jacksonville Market. Talk a little bit about the Florida-Georgia Classic.
Sure. About 4 years ago, I'm sitting around and I'm looking at where am I going to play pickleball. I checked the pickleballtournament.com page where tournaments were happening, and I found out that there are 18 of them in West Florida, there were 12 of them in South Florida, there were 10 of them in Central Florida, and there was one in North Florida. So I said, why don't I go ahead and create a pickleball tournament? So I went to the St. Johns County Commission. They're a great organization to work with. I said, would you be interested in working with us to put on a pickleball tournament? Secretly, I wanted to do that so I didn't have to travel 2.5 hours just to play.
Nice.
They said they would be.
Yeah.
And so we put on our first pickleball tournament in about 2018, drew 323 players.
Wow.
And have been running 2 pickleball tournaments a year ever since.
Right. Were you surprised that that many people were kind of quietly out there, that you had over 300 people, and you were thinking maybe, what, we'd get maybe 50, 60 maybe or something?
Well, it's kind of a fun time because you're sitting there and you're counting every time you see somebody sign up. And you said, well, I got my first 50. Oh, then I got 100. Oh, wow, it's 200.
Yeah.
And finally got to 300. And now we're doing the same thing when we get to 550.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? It's just the great growth. You know, and that tournament is in our backyard here. It happens every year, coincides again with the Florida-Georgia game. So it's a great outlet for people who come into this area to not only enjoy college football, but also get some pickleball in, right?
Right, and it's a big winner for the community. I think we're the only pickleball tournament. There may be a few others, but ours is strictly for charity. We actually donated $61,000 to St. Johns County area strictly through the revenues that we make from pickleball. We make no money. We simply turn over other than expenses back to the community through the Knights of Columbus. We actually work with them.
Nice, boy. And that's a benefit for everybody, for sure, and I'm sure appreciated. And who would ever think $60,000, right? I mean, Tony, come on. You know, that's no small chunk of change, right?
And that's within a year.
Yep. And then you got one more coming up in 2023 in the February or thereabouts. Talk a little bit about that one.
Yeah. We simultaneous to the Spanish Wine Festival here in St. Augustine, we said, let's come up with another tournament. And the way we look at tournaments is we look at tournaments that are able to drive economic impact revenue to St. Johns County.
Nice.
And it's a slow period of time. So we actually drive about 350 hotel rooms over the 3-day tournament. And so we did our Pickleball Veritas in the Ancient City pickleball tournament, and quite frankly, that's the one that's been the largest so far. Last year we did, or the last time we had it, we did 430 members, and we expect into that 600 range for our next pickleball tournament.
Wow, amazing. And for those of you who may not know, geographically, St. Augustine sits up in the northeastern part of our state here in Florida, and also is the oldest city in America and has quite a bit of historic value. So there's quite a bit of attraction just to come to St. Augustine, let alone play the tournament, and enjoy great wine, which is another benefit, right, Tony?
That is, and that's part of that economic impact.
Yep.
We actually drive people to the St. Augustine attraction, so
Yep.
you can believe it or not, but that's Ripley's, right? Or you can stay youthful, and that's at the youth fountain. So
We're going to go there after this interview because Tony and I could use some of that. At least I could.
he's talking about the wine.
Yeah. Oh, is that what it is? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good fountain of youth. Well, we are so appreciative of the knowledge you've dropped. I'm going to include in the links in this video below ways to get in touch with Tony to understand more about how he does what he does, and that maybe you could replicate what we're doing here and what he's doing here in your market, wherever you might be and live. And certainly it's bigger than pickleball, which is always a great story. And I really appreciate your time and knowledge that you've shared.
In the old days, what it'd be is that you kind of wanted to keep a good idea to yourself. I always used to, in my old sales job, give away my good ideas, and friends would say, well, why are you doing that? I said, because he's working on my old idea and I'm thinking of a new one.
That's a great
And
one.
that's the motto of pickleball.
Yeah.
We want pickleball to explode. We want everybody to do well.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing about this sport, and I'm sure you'd agree, is it meets everybody where they're at, and you can find someone who plays as good as you or as bad as you, if you think that, and you only get better, and it's a great social community. I mean, we all get together and break bread and have fun and all those kinds of things, right?
That's exactly right. Is that the nice thing about a pickleball tournament also, right, is that from the get-go, from you just learning the game, you can actually start to play in the pickleball tournament because of the way we structure the pickleball tournament.
Yeah.
The same age bracket plays together and the same talent plays together. So it becomes competitive right from the beginning of pickleball playing.
Yep. Well, I think we've seen some people that on their first tournament, and I'm sure you have, they're just like shocked that they did so well and had so much fun, and everybody's a winner in those tournaments because you came out and gave it your all to play, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, for a while it becomes actually kind of an objective to kind of head look at pickleball tournaments, go to that pickleball tournament, enjoy the place where that pickleball tournament is, and then play in the pickleball tournament. You get to meet those same people then at different pickleball tournaments as you travel throughout the year.
Yeah, I've found that to be true as well. Well, Tony, I can't thank you enough for joining me here and sharing not only your pickleball journey, but your life journey. And I understand in the month of November you're going to be back on the courts, and get a doctor's note to prove it, and you'll be good as new, right?
That's right, the first time since June.
Nice. Well, we're glad that Tony is here with us, and you're kind of brand new now, man. You're like bionic, right?
I am. New heart, passage, new attitude. Tai Chi's helped me along, so I'm ready to add all those things together and start playing.
Well, we're sure glad you're here. Stay tuned for more here on the channel. We'll have more people like Tony, although I don't know how many people are like Tony because he's really one of a kind, great guy. And we'll be talking with you soon. Thanks for joining us. Thanks once again to Tony Cutright for joining me here on the show. Interesting guy, and what a comeback story. And on top of that, he's running 2 tournaments. Is that amazing or what? The next one coming up is the end of October for the Florida-Georgia Pickleball Classic happening in St. Augustine at a location called Treaty Park. There's more information in the show notes below, or if you click on Show More, there you'll find them. Also, I'll include something there to get connected to Tony if you want to talk more with him directly. Also coming up that Tony did mention in the piece is in late Feb of 2023, Pickleball Veritas in the Ancient City is a really cool event. Check that out. There will also be a link in the show notes below, and you can possibly play. Who knows? Hey, thanks again for joining all of us here on the show, and we will be talking with you again soon. Have a good one.